Welcome back, troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we have a 1976 Gibson Les Paul Custom with pretty much everything replaced and heavy wear and tear. Now, I got this guitar from the same seller as that refinished white SG. I was skeptical to buy from him again after, finding that thing had basically an Epiphone body and a Gibson neck, poorly set on it, with a metric bridge and all that. So I ended up returning that to the seller. He was real good about the return, so I didn't want to name any names that time. I thought, well, they're a fairly well-respected dealer, so I just thought maybe it was a one-time occurrence. I got this guitar from them again, and once again, hidden issues on this guitar. It's kind of hard to see here, but the bass side is a little bit higher. Here I am holding the guitar completely straight, and you can see a slight twist kind of like that. But in fairness, this guitar has been refretted, and I believe they took that into account when they did it. So this guitar is perfectly playable yet. I mean, the twist is a big downfall of it because it could get worse as you go, or it could never move. I'm actually really surprised to see a maple neck do this. But this was part of a double whammy. I've been having a hard time finding good stuff to sell lately. That's why I revived that Would You Rock or Not series, because I just can't find guitars to buy anymore. But two guitars arrived yesterday. Both had twisted necks, like ridiculously twisted. So I'm going to go ahead and review them, but they are being sent back because I don't want to sell second-rate stuff. That's not that this is a bad guitar, it's just there's an issue on it, and I don't like dealing with issued guitars. I don't mind some replaced parts or even all replaced parts as long as they're solid. So this is a 76 Custom that is definitely in a player's grade territory. There's a small twist to the neck. Pretty much everything has been replaced and it's been heavily gigged. So let's go over it. Let's start with the face of the headstock here. I believe the Les Paul Custom truss rod cover is still original, so bonus points there, but the original Schaller tuners have been replaced with Grovers, and they've likely been there a while because you have quite a bit of tarnishing to the gold hardware, and just wear in general. But you can see the lacquer has heavily aged this golden hue, and it's completely chipped almost off all of the custom emblem there. So you still kind of have some remnants of it. You might just want to finish scraping it off, but it kind of gives it a kind of a cool vibe. I'm not usually such a big fan of it. I wish it was still all intact and yellow. But you kind of got that some on the Gibson logo as well. But lots of string change wear. But luckily, no breaks, cracks, or repairs to the neck. We got to go over an area on the nut. The truss rod is very stiff. It does still move, but it's just a little bit more stiff than I would like it to be. Now, when the nut was replaced, the job was not the best. You can see you kind of got a small gap underneath it, especially on this side. So they kind of had to remove a little bit of wood. So not the best job in the world cosmetically, but it does its job as far as, a nut. It kind of feels like a bone nut, so it's pretty nice. This has been refretted with jumbo frets. They show very minor wear. Now I'm guessing this was refretted, obviously because it's been played so much, but also to take into account the twist in the neck. So as far as playability goes, the guitar, yes, it does play, pretty okay. You've got some light fret buzz towards the middle of the neck, but it does play alright with the jumbo frets. The only thing really wrong with jumbo frets is if you press down too hard, you can bend the note, so instead of just that's the only bad thing about jumbo frets, but they're really nice for bends. But beautiful ebony fretboard. The refret job was actually pretty good. I only see one little small chip in the ebony board right there. But besides that, it was a very excellent refret job, whoever did that. On to the body. Now this finish, obviously, Cherry Sunburst, not everybody's favorite custom finish, but what I like about this one is all the finish checking on it. It is just absolutely gorgeous. I do like this custom for the finish checking, and that's all over the body. But you also have some nicks and dings that will go over here. So we'll do this a little slowly. Now the pots, if I am remembering correctly, I mean you got some nicks and dings here, but the pots are still original. They date to 1976. Now you're gonna see that they added this mini toggle switch here. And you're gonna see that it has this giant metal washer around it when usually it's just that little switch. The reason why that giant washer is there is because when they went through on the back to drill through the grounding plate in order to, drill this through the wood, it looks like they went a little bit too deep and that made this area unstable. So they added this large metal washer so that doesn't end up cracking. But that does work as a coil tap to the bridge pickup only. You have Seymour Duncans in here. I think it's like... But knobs have been replaced, but surprisingly, the pots are still original. And for whatever reason, this again has been converted to a metric bridge. I don't understand why they do this. All chrome hardware, but the bridge posts and studs are gold. Now I think this tailpiece is still original and this post, but this post has definitely been changed. It's a little more rounded. So you do have a bridge modification here that can't really be taken back to Nashville because I don't understand why they do this, convert it to metric. Because this body, I don't have any doubts on this body. It's got the pancake body here, and the finish is looking right. The neck has never been taken out. So it's definitely a Gibson body, but for whatever reason, this shop likes to get these metric parts on. I don't know. Back of the headstock, serial number is 00116633. That's actually really cool. It's got double numbers for everything. So just remember 0163 and then double them. Now I do want to note a potential issue here. Is you can see the 3-piece maple neck is very slightly separating right here. It's not a lot. I don't think you'll ever have any issues with it, but if it does start to separate more, you're going to want to inject some glue with a needle and then clamp it. So you're never going to have any real issue with that. That's definitely an easy fix should it ever spread any further, but I do want to be honest about that in case you're buying this from them. So once again, Grover Tuners replaced the original Schaller. So you do have that extra pilot hole screw here. 75 and 76, if you don't know, those are years that have a decal for their serial number. So that is the way it should be. And thankfully, no breaks, cracks, or repairs. So usually when you get a custom in that $1,500–$1,600 range, you're going to have all replaced parts and some repairs. So if you can live with a slightly twisted neck and might having to do something with it in the future, this is actually a pretty good deal. You have some nice flame on the maple neck. The finish has been sanded away kind of on the middle here. My guess is this was actually played off and then they just kind of finished sanding it off to make it look more like a burst. So it's not the biggest eyesore in the world, but the maple definitely is kind of stained. This is probably what caused it to twist because there's probably no protective coating on it. But overall, 60s neck profile, you've got some flame to the maple, and it's a decent player. Back of the body, you have once again lots of finish checking and nicks, dings, scratches galore. It's definitely a heavily played guitar, but luckily you still have the finish. It's not worn off or anything. I hate it when I see giant patches of buckle wear because that's just kind of irresponsible. I like it when you see, honest play wear like this. This is a pancake body construction Les Paul Custom. You can see where the pickguard used to be right there by the discoloration and extra hole. There is no pickguard with this one. We've got wear and tear on the sides. The jack plate here has definitely been replaced. It's a little bit too square, and it should be metal. You have Schaller strap locks on the guitar, but the counterparts are not included. So lots of wear and tear in general. But, if you can't afford a straight custom, I would suggest checking this one out. Overall, a Les Paul Custom from the mid-70s. I heavily suggest checking one of these out. You know, all original is obviously the best, but you know, if you can only afford a player's grade example, they're still great playing guitars, but they're heavy. This one feels like it's 14 pounds, but I think it's a little over 10. We'll see that here in a second. Take a look under blacklight here. You can see where the finish has chipped off the custom emblem a little bit more clearly here. But no, you know, real repairs on it. Besides the nut change over here, where you can see some damage has occurred, but not a lot. Front of the body, once again, tons of finish checking that you can kind of see as the light goes by it. You've got some finish wear into the finish right there in a form of a nick or ding. Knobs have been replaced, once again, mini toggle added, and you can see the shadow of the pickguard. So the pickguard was definitely on this guitar for most of its life. You can also see where the pickguard made an impression into the finish. Back of the headstock here, you can see some finish chipping towards the top and that very slight separation of the three-piece neck. Once again, I don't think that's ever really going to give you any issues, but it could, so I'm going to let you know that. And once again, the old pilot holes for the Schaller tuners. Now, no breaks, cracks, or repairs to the neck, thankfully. But you do, once again, have the finish worn off, most of it. This was definitely a sanding job of some nature, but it looks like they just got the finish. They didn't like take the profile down or anything. So you can see the original finish is still there around the heel. Lots of wear and tear on the finish on the back, as well as some scratches and nicks and dings, but this is a player's grade custom. Take a look at the sides real quick. There you can see once again where the pickguard used to be. And pancake body is fully intact. Alright, this Les Paul Custom weighs 10 pounds, 15.7 ounces, so you're just under 11 pounds. I'll tell you though, this thing feels like a 14-pound beast. All of that weight is in the body. This guitar comes in an aftermarket case that's in pretty beat up shape. I'm guessing the seller I got it from took the original case and just sold it with this or something like that, but I have no way of really knowing. This is kind of one of those cheapy Les Paul aftermarket cases that aren't the greatest. As you can see, lots of wear and tear and scratching. You have 1, 2, 3, and a broken back latch, so 4 latches total, but only 3 functioning. And a working handle for the time being. You can see it's kind of starting to tear there, but not too bad. The interior is kind of a dark gray, kind of green. I mean, the green doesn't really show up on camera as well as I'd like it to, but it does hold the guitar fairly okay. And you do have a strap in there. Here you can test the fit here. Side to side, it's not very good. You can see the headstock's going crazy, but up and down, it's pretty alright. So it's not the best case, but not the worst case either. The cleans will be running through a Gibson Super Gold Tone GA30RV. The dirty tones come from a Marshall JMP 1C. might be interested in this Gibson Les Paul Custom, I'm sending it back, but I'm sure it'll show back up on Reverb without the issues being disclosed once again. So buyer beware on this one. Feel free to contact me on my Facebook page if you'd like me to help you find another guitar. Facebook.com/Troglys, TROGOYS. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care. I do want to say some final words about this custom. Now that I've reviewed it, kind of went over the condition and actually sat down and played this thing, holy cow. It's a mighty fine player. I mean, I'm not going to hide it. I actually played this one probably for another hour after just my recording session. Yes, the neck does have a twist. I mean, I'll show you here. I mean, you can see once it's all leveled out here that the bass side is a little bit crooked here. You can see it kind of goes like this. I mean, it's a minor twist and it's been refretted, and I'm guessing it was refretted not because of just the wear, but to also accommodate for that. But there is no issue playing this guitar, but the twisted neck definitely needs to be disclosed just in case it continues to twist on down the years. But as of right now, there's a reason why this guitar is as played as it is, and I was actually very surprised by these pickups through my little Marshall amp. So I usually don't do this, but I don't feel my review was as fair to this guitar as it should be. I still am probably going to be sending it back, but man, this is a nice player's custom.